Welcome to Mompreneur Mastery. I'm your host, Sydney O'Brien, an Instagram strategist turned content and messaging strategist after watching the online space get louder, buyers take longer, and content turn into a performance instead of real connection. On this podcast, you'll learn how to clarify your message so your content actually stands out in a sea of copy and paste trends and AI noise, and also how to strategize your content across platforms to build the trust and connection that turns followers into clients. All in doable, brain space saving episodes you can fit in between school pickup and reheating your coffee for the third time. Let's dive in. So lately in the content I've been sharing, I have been talking about how we've been seeing a shift in buyer behavior and how people are more skeptical than ever. And so to get sales from our marketing, we need to share a lot more social proof. And I get to talk to Sreyasi today because she does such a great job with this and has such a really unique and helpful framework for sharing case studies, which I think is incredible. And I've seen you do it I saw you do it for, I think, Cal from Words Hurt Copy. That carousel was amazing. And so I volunteered to have you do one for my coaching program. And I've seen the draft of it, and I'm so excited for it to be shared. But I just had to invite you on to share a little bit about what you do, how you do it, your framework. Can you start with just telling us a bit about your background and how you got started in this work?
Yeah. So I was in corporate, but my background is not in marketing. I was in publishing. I'm a literature nerd, and I was super new to the space. I started in content and e-commerce copywriting and stuff like that. But after a while, it stopped feeling, fulfilling because you don't really see the ROI of where is that content going? How is it helping? So that really hunger that I had in corporate, to see what the impact of my work is, that followed me here. And I was like, okay, let's try copywriting because you can measure the ROI. And that really took me to case studies because then you can really measure the ROI of your work, how your work is impacting people, how it's changing lives, how activating it really is.
I love that. Also, I love that you worked in publishing. I studied English in college and did an internship at a publishing company. I loved it so much. Yes.
That was really fun. I mean, you get to learn so much about writing practices because writing is a lot of creativity, but it's also a lot of discipline, right? So, yeah.
It is.
And I
Yeah.
also,
It's a really interesting mix of the both.
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the difference between testimonials and case studies? I always tell people, it was a big thing on the internet to just share photos or screenshots of testimonials people leave. And I tell people to shy away from that and share it more as a story. Is that something you would agree with?
I would totally agree with that. The way I go about it is your case study is really the whole story, and your testimonials are just a part of that story, right? Testimonials can do well if you're selling a lower ticket offer, a $9 offer, a $47, template and stuff like that. But when people are dropping a lot of money on higher ticket offers, they need to see the work behind the work. They need to know, is this going to work for me? Is your process adaptable? All that info, all that jazz, that's where case studies shine. They build trust by giving people context. And the lack of context is what creates a lot of friction when we sell. It's where we hop on a sales call and we're answering loads of questions because people are not educated about our offers. And, that's when they're like, I need to think about it. But when they come to you with that context, when they see the stories of your clients, when they can see themselves in that story, that's when they come to us pretty much, pre-sold. And I would say that yes, screenshots are a great starting point because that means your clients were happy with you, but that's not the end game. There's more to the story.
For sure. And I think definitely a good starting point, but sharing the story where people can really see themselves in it, like you said, and then also repurposing that case study and like multiple pieces of content is also amazing because we have to have, multiple touch points and like build that consistency and trust and connection and all of that. Can you tell us a bit about how you repurpose case studies?
In a way, I think we treat our client stories like expensive china or that, dress that we are only going to wear on a, special occasion. But our client
Yes.
stories are embedded with so many lessons. They are a culmination of our worldview, our point of view, our values, our years of expertise, like how we hold space for others. When I do case studies, when I hop on case study interviews, these are also the insights that I get from my clients. And these are also the, questions our audience, our prospective buyers are thinking about, right? And there's so much gold in our client stories, but what we do is we just do one carousel or we just do one blog post, like how I took my client from X to Z, and that's not it. Like we can repurpose that, like our client stories from multiple angles. Like, when we talk to our clients and figure out stuff like what were they doing to solve this problem before us? What was working, what wasn't working. And then we repurpose these insights into content or our messaging, then we directly call in ready to buy clients, not just folks who are going to circle our offers, not just folks who are going to say, oh, cool offer, maybe later, because we are getting those insights from people who have already bought from us. So we know how that lands. And your case studies can be repurposed into Instagram posts, threads posts, workshop topics, podcast episodes, blog posts, sales emails to handle objections, anything really. Like the limit doesn't exist.
Such a good point. And I think it's extra important now to be able to share it on multiple platforms. So like when you do a blog post or podcast, it's more like visible and lasts longer than just an Instagram post. So even if you're sharing it like mid launch or like if you're running a like promotional campaign or something, you can still have like the blog or podcast of it for people to find like organically later and come into your world that way too.
Exactly. And what I really wanna, emphasize, and like you were saying, sharing our client stories on multiple platforms and in multiple ways, because repetition is such an underused strategy in marketing. Like we may feel like, oh, I'm going to talk about this client story, like how many times, like I've already talked about it, but repetition builds recognition, and it just extends the value of our work, that like one client journey led to so many breakthroughs and lessons for them, so many breakthroughs and lessons for us, because we also change and shift and learn a lot from these projects and every time we interact with our clients, right? So there's a lot of gold there.
For sure. And I feel like I, for one, as like a consumer, I always forget things. Even if I see a post or like get an email, there's like a 99% chance I will completely forget about whatever offer, even if I was interested in it. So definitely repeat yourself. You're not being annoying. You're just making sure that people get the information that they need.
Exactly. And we are seeing our content every day. We are sick of it. Like we feel like, oh my gosh, am I being too much? We are dropping into this energy of, oh my gosh, maybe I'm being annoying. Like literally, and what you just said is so timely. The other day, and I was chatting with a friend, a very close friend. We text every day, and she tells me like, "But what are you launching?" Like that's what happens. You're
Yeah.
just so close to it. You think that you're annoying, but you're not. Most people are busy in their own lives with their own stuff. So definitely,
Mhm.
like, repeat yourself.
Yes, as much as you need to. If you feel like you're being annoying, that's a sign you got to do it some more, honestly, I think.
Most def.
Can you tell us a little bit about your unique approach to case studies? Because when I saw that carousel you did for Cal, I was like kind of blown away by the super specific questions that you put in there. It was just amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came up with that?
Yeah. And thank you so much. I have a lot of fun, like building out the strategy for the case studies for my clients because each offer is so unique and it comes with like a unique set of problems to be solved, right? Or things to amplify,
Mhm.
right? I would say my approach to case studies is pretty holistic. Like, I want to be able to help you solve your most urgent marketing, messaging, and sales problems because trust, conversions, connections, they don't happen in a vacuum, right? So what I do is like, we start with a strategy call to figure out how we can build more trust with your audience. Like, what does your case study need to do? Does it need to show that you're delivering on your promise? Do we need more clarity about your process? Do the case studies need to, slay objections? And we go from there. Or like, do they need to show how you do things differently? Right. And the next step is to really interview my clients. And I do this very unscalable thing of customizing the questions according to each client. Because, yeah,
Wow.
because generic questions lead to generic responses, right? Like if I ask you, Sydney, how's your dog? And you're like, I don't have a dog. Like you would be so uninterested in that conversation. And that's what happens when we like have questions on our testimonial forms, like what happened before you were working with me? What happened during? But if you tap into their specific experience, you get so much gold. They're much more inclined to have a conversation with you as a human and not just, I'm here to just answer questions. Like, can we get this over with? And that leads to richer responses. And then based on these, case study interviews, I then like frame the case studies, but from like a specific angle that helps people, tell that lead with basically a narrative arc. Like if you're a system strategist, your clients may be asking like, can I really scale from one to one to one to many without dropping the ball on client experience? And if that client story really shows that, I'm gonna, share that narrative angle and all the info, all the quotes in the case studies are gonna, point towards that. And the last step is like pulling all of the messaging insights from the interviews, also like helping my clients, repurpose their case studies into multiple types of content.
Amazing. I am like floored by that approach because so often I feel like what we hear is just like sending out those generic surveys with like those questions you mentioned. But it makes so much more sense to take the time to like do the individual questions for specific clients and get the better results that actually help your case study and then obviously your sales for whatever offer it is you're
Yeah.
sharing.
And it's like good to have a conversation with the person that I'm interviewing and because they are people with a rich, full lives. And yes, this is like, feel good and vibey, but it's also like very strategic in a way. So we don't lead with assumptions in our marketing. Like assumptions kill conversation.
Right.
When we think that this is what our, this is what's landing, but what's actually landed with our real clients is completely different, then like there's a massive gap. That's where, sales fall through that gap. Trust falls through that gap.
That is so timely. I feel like I have like a membership, and inside the membership, we've been working on digging deep into messaging because so much of like the content you see on Instagram is very like surface level, I feel, when it comes to marketing. And it's just like these very generic like pain points that people put into like the hooks that everyone is using. So there's a lot of like nuance and context that is lost. So when you're able to have these conversations and find out what you should really be saying in your content, it makes a world of
Yes.
difference.
And I love that, like, you start with messaging. Like, every other content club I see out there, it's all about, make your marketing easier. Come grab these templates, like write a post in 5 seconds. But that's not how it works. Like that's
No.
how we end up with generic things, generic pain points, like you said, generic messaging. And it goes deeper, and we don't really want to show up and talk about our work because there's like a massive gap between how we do things and what we are talking about. Like, I love your approach, and I had such a good time, digging into like your offer and coming up with a strategy for it. I'm excited for it to go live.
Me too. I'm definitely going to share a link to that in the show notes so everyone can see your brilliance there as well. But thank you for saying that. I get why people are quick to use like the templates and like just follow like those trends of like use this hook and you'll go viral because everyone is so like busy and overwhelmed and stressed. But at the end of the day, when you're able to set aside some time to do like a thorough case study or hire you to do a thorough case study, you can repurpose it. So you're still saving time, but you're actually getting results. Like when you do the generic content, you're not really getting the same results. So is it worth it to save the time? I feel like it's not.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to be known for who we are. So, like, if you're leading with our personality, but like our expertise is not showing up in our content, then like, where is it going? Like, what's the ROI of that? And it doesn't feel good. But yeah, I'm curious as to like, how did you come up with this, leading with messaging first when you started your membership?
I actually recently changed my membership where it was like, I'm just going to help you post on Instagram. And then I was like, this isn't working. These aren't the results that people want. We don't want to hit random vanity metrics of like likes. That doesn't actually help our business. Let's see where the gap is. And then I kind of rearranged my whole membership to focus on like the messaging foundation first and expanded it from just Instagram to working on multiple platforms. So they all kind of work together and we can get all those touch points and reach all the right people.
I think the wheel has turned a lot in these days, in the beginning of like the online business space, when things were really new, we were all like all over all of that platforms. And then we were like, just this one platform. But now it's so important to be again on different spaces because like you said, buyers are so much more discerning. So it has become like a numbers game again.
Yeah. Which can feel like overwhelming, but I think if you just find the right places, you don't have to be everywhere. And like you were saying, finding ways to repurpose your content so you're not starting from scratch, like for every post on every platform or email or anything. But it's definitely helpful, especially when we're so easily distracted now and have like such short term memories. Like a couple of Instagram posts isn't going to do it. You got to be in more than one place to like stay top of mind and like make those connections.
Like I could be vibing with somebody's content because I remember, I think we connected on Threads a couple of months ago, and it took us a while to get to this place. Like a lot of posts, a lot of touch points, a lot of trust building to say, hey, Sydney, I want to do this carousel for you. Or, hey, Shreyasi, come chat on my podcast with me. This is such like a perfect mini little case study of you need to post more, but also like obviously post with intention, not like random stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think the intention is like a big part that a lot of people miss, especially on like Instagram or Threads where we want like those vanity metrics, like the likes and the comments. But if it's not about the right thing, it doesn't really matter. Like I've had a couple of threads get like 20,000 likes or something, but it wasn't about my business at all. So it doesn't actually do anything for me.
Think about threads, like your business posts never go viral. It's just those like random things about like going on a walk or like some like weird take that's always, just taking off. Like, which brings me to sort of like a question. Have you noticed how like there's like a shift in creating content like a creator in the like in our space right now. Like, I'd love to know your takes about that. Like, because Threads shows that people are more interested in our lives, not like our business. Like, I'm so curious, like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I have noticed that, and I kind of love and hate it at the same time. Like, I I love that people are showing up in new ways and, like, showing their lives and their personality. I think that even if you don't mean to, it can show a lot of your, like, personal values, which can help you find the right clients. It can help people connect with you and build trust, and I love that. The thing I don't love, and this is more, like, Instagram related, less Threads, for those, like, day in the life videos, feeling like maybe you have to share more than you're willing for like reels specifically, or feeling like you have to constantly be creating content.
There's so much that comes through when we share our content, like all the intangible soft touches. But yeah, it's just the content, like this blurring of, boundaries. As a super mega introvert, as like a person with ADHD, that's like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. That blurring of boundaries is definitely real. I try to only do it when I feel like it and, like, not feel bad if I'm not participating in those things, but it's fun to see. I enjoy getting to know people that way, and it's honestly, like, why I found, like, you and some other really great people on Threads and on
Yeah.
Instagram.
He's a creator consumer than a creator creator. But like, gotta play the game. So I'll play the way I
Mhm.
can.
Right. Yeah. So you have a custom GPT that helps people with repurposing, case studies. Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about how that works?
So like we said, like we talked about, how most people really just do one blog post or one carousel and call it a day. Like, we are done. I've shared my client story and that's about it. My repurposing bestie is like, you have to change that, I would say, like, because there's so many micro lessons, so many insights embedded in our client stories. And I have, programmed it to be able to pull those insights from multiple angles, like what's like a myth that my clients hold about, copywriting or content creation, what's like a belief shift that they had while working with me or working with my clients, and give people basically multiple angles to share their client stories. You can create different types of content with the custom GPT. It gives you ideas for IG and LinkedIn. It can write threads posts for you. It can give you workshop topics along with along with an outline as well. And it can, throw up ideas for podcasts, blog posts, long form content, YouTube videos, and stuff like that. So, you take one case study and you just have at least 5 to 7 pieces of content, like high quality content, not like generic stuff, but stuff, that's actually building trust, building credibility, building authority for you.
It's amazing. And I feel like when we were talking about before how easy it is to kind of stick with the generic things because it just saves time and we're able to just like check content off of our to-do list. This is so helpful for that because not like you are taking the time to like dig in deeper for a really good case study. But the repurposing bestie also helps you save time and have content that actually does the thing it's supposed to do.
So case studies do this double duty of educating and selling for you, right? Like educating people about your process, your values, your boundaries. And this is content, right? We forget that, right? And when you can, create this content and then also back it up with client codes, then it becomes that much more credible. So, and like the way it does, selling for you is how case studies are basically like a backstage pass to your expertise. Like, it paints a realistic picture in this space where we are so like, frustrated by the 6 figures in 6 minutes claims. And It just shows what it takes to succeed. And these days, that sells versus like, screenshots that said, I got like 10 sales in like 2 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, the context there is so important. I feel like I can see any post of someone being like, "Oh, I got someone like help them reach like a six-figure month or something," and I'm immediately like very skeptical. But if I see a case study where it's like they explained how they do it or I don't know. I think for me, knowing I have like a very tight schedule, I'm home with my kids during the day. Anytime I invest in something, I want to know it's something I'm actually going to have time to do. And so if they have a case study and it shows like someone like me who is like very limited time, like maybe an hour to a day to work, and they're getting those results, I know like, oh yeah, that could be for me. Like clearing up those objections or concerns or questions like right there in the content.
What really for people who don't have a traditional portfolio, like designers can, have like a gallery of their work, and that sort of brings people in, but it's always obviously helpful to show the thinking behind that work. But people who don't have a traditional portfolio, right? Like, how do we talk about our work? We need to just like, we can't recap our project and just call it a day. It needs to like, show how the person on the other end felt about going through this journey. That builds even more trust. That brings in even more context.
And that's, yeah, so important now when everyone is so skeptical of like these very generic posts. And even I feel like people are very skeptical of offers now, knowing that a lot of them might be not living up to the hype. I've been seeing a lot of that on threads, but having these very personal stories to show that no, this is a good one. It's legit.
This is an area where we really do need to be authentic.
Absolutely, for sure. Now, if you could give one tip to a business owner who is so swamped but really wants to do a case study, what tip do you think they should know?
Like to understand what your primary sales objections are. What are the questions that people are asking you in your DMs, on your sales calls? And then you figure out which client story answers these the best. Instead of, randomly sharing any client story, right? Because consciously or unconsciously, our client stories, our client journeys are a reflection of how we do things, how we see the world differently. And, all these questions that people have are answered through our client journeys. Like the answers are already there, right? Just know, like, which marketing problem, which messaging problem you want to solve right now. Is it something like, are people saying like, hey, I'm not ready? Are they saying like, hey, I don't know if this offer is for me? How can you show that someone in your situation has, succeeded with my offer? Or like you said, like, I don't have the time. Like, how can you show that your offer has helped someone with limited capacity, like, get to their goals? So figure out like what are your most urgent and pressing sales problems are, and then work backwards from there.
Smart. And then you're also not wasting time if you don't have a lot of it. Yeah. That's such a good one. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for me.
It was such a great conversation. I loved it. I'm going to put the links for those in the show notes. Once that, like, the case study carousel is up, I'm going to share that so they can see just how thorough it is. I love having a good example. That's it for this episode of Mompreneur Mastery. If you're building a business around your life, not the other way around, and you're tired of being told to hustle harder to make sales when you're already hustling at 110%, I hope this gave you a breath of fresh air. And if it did, I would love it if you left a quick review or shared this with another mom entrepreneur who is ready to market with more strategy and way less stress. And if you want to see what a cohesive content map across multiple platforms with strategic messaging looks like, check out the link in the show notes to grab your free copy of the Buyer Journey Content Map. I'll see you next time.